The next stage of this module, we're going to share a tool with you that we've designed to support you in listening in your community. And most of that listening takes place in one-to-one intentional conversations with people in your community. So this tool exists to help you to prepare for that, to brainstorm who it is you might want to be in that kind of listening relationship with. It helps you with a structure to think about how you might approach a 30 or 40-minute conversation with someone in your community. And also helps you to think about how you might take notes and then share with other people in your team the kind of things that you're hearing. But I do want to just take a minute to share why we feel this is so important at this stage of discernment. If you've ever served on a church committee before, perhaps you're familiar with the dilemma of half of the people saying, let's go to action, let's stop talking about this, and the other half of the people saying, we need to study this a little bit more. And the truth is, that's a very regular dilemma in groups and teams who are looking to make decisions. And it's often a reflection of our dominant culture values of urgency and decision-making and moving quickly to action, or not wanting to ruffle any feathers and so being a little bit cautious about moving toward decision-making. In fact, in this work, we want to equip you and support you and accompany you in a countercultural way of doing this work that leads with listening, but that practices listening in a way which moves us toward action together as a community. And one of the most common things that we hear at this moment from teams and from individuals is, I don't feel ready to sit down and talk to people in my community because I don't have a lot of answers to the questions they might have. I don't have a proposal. I don't have a plan yet. And that's really understandable, and I think a lot of us feel that way regularly. But we want to remember that we're here to listen, we're here to discern, and to allow design, to allow ideas, specifics, proposals to come out of that listening. And so I want to share an image that we regularly use to help us think about how we listen well now and how that in fact moves us towards design. One thing that we've noticed in doing this work with teams, with leaders, in discernment and design is that we tend to approach human community work in much the same way that we would approach project management or building something. So in our dominant culture, we tend to assume that the first stage is for us to sit down as leaders and to make a design, make a plan ourselves. And then we're going to go and gather all of the materials, the uniform materials, the bricks or the mortar or the timber, and then we're going to execute our plan. But actually there's another way of building. And I'm from Scotland originally, and if you go to the Highlands of Scotland, then you'll find what we call dry stone walls. And they're constructed without any mortar or cement. They're simply held together by the rocks themselves. And the process of building a dry stone wall is very different than the process I just mentioned. The first thing that you do when you're building a dry stone wall is simply to hold up a rock in your hand and to see it without judgment, to notice its contours, its size, its shape. And then we do that over and over again. We encounter, to use our word, we encounter a number of rocks simply as they are. And when we do that repeatedly, we begin to notice the possibility of connection. We imagine that this rock might fit really well with this one. And pretty soon we find ourselves in the process of building a dry stone wall. So the truth is that in our communities, people are more like rocks than they are like bricks. That the people in our communities are unique and different shapes and sizes, different experiences. And if we want to build something together through discernment, through listening, then we need to begin by simply seeing them without judgment, understanding their stories, their experiences. So this is a very different approach to building, but it's one that we really trust in, that it's one that leads with listening, and actually through that listening moves us towards building. So when you're using this tool that we're sharing with you in this module, we want to invite you to remember this image in your mind, that you're not there to present a proposal. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be the expert with the plan. You're there to see them. You're there to listen. And when you do that work really well, when your team does that work really well, pretty soon you will find yourself noticing possibilities of connection and noticing the potential for building things together that doesn't require the people in your community to change, doesn't require them to be different to fit with your plan, but your plan emerges from who they are. So we're looking forward to doing this work alongside you, and we're with you every step of the way. Thanks. Whenever we feel concerned that we're not ready to present a plan, that we're not expert enough, or that we don't have answers about the future to people's questions, I want to invite you to remember this process, that we are there to listen. We're there to understand the concerns, the hopes, the experiences, the stories of people in our community. And not just that, but when we do that, we are able to design. When we do that work, we are able to construct, to build together in a way that doesn't harm our communities, in a way which treats our members of our communities as the resources that we build out of. And so I want to invite you to use this tool in the coming weeks, and we're here to support you as you use it, and to get into the process, into the practice of meeting with people in your community one-to-one, and to remember this image that you're not there to present your plan, you're not there to present your proposal, you're there to listen. And when we do that work, we're going to enter the work of design more deeply and more authentically.